recording. All right. Welcome to our MSI demo, our MSI weekly. We have a short agenda for today, and I think we should start right now. The first part is presented by Lars. It's about default stock assignment. So Lars, it's your stage.
Yes, this ticket is currently a work in progress. I write yesterday a question to the chat because I had some problems with the implementation because the default tables are not set in any case, and now we find a solution for this problem, and I will implement this. And yeah, I must also extend the integration test with some features for the old inventory status and inventory item table, and then it's I can finish this task. It's currently work in progress.
So thank you. The next is Belinda on our agenda. So she tells us something about the SalesChannel integration. We currently just can talk about the implementation itself, but not about the UI part because it's still in refactoring.
So hi, I hope my microphone works.
You're silent.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Much better.
Okay. So last week we had the contribution week here at Tech Division, and my part was to implement the sales channels, which are a connection between websites and we solved that issue, or mainly I solved that issue by using extension attributes for the stock. So it is like an own little table that is part of the stock and will be saved on it by the normal save of stock. I don't know if you want to see my code. Should I share my screen or? So just quickly. Can you see my mouse? Okay, so we have two modules, one for the inventory sales and one for the inventory sales API. And the implementation, of course, is here in the sales. And for the API, you have like set type, get type, and code, and so on. And also the receiving of the sales channels for stock. That's mainly all we gave to the outside because due to database inconsistency, it's better to not change the sales channels by themselves, separated from the stock. Yes. So for now, we defined the type of website as a constant. So I can't find it now at the moment. Maybe
in sales channels interface.
In sales channels interface. Yeah. So for now, we are in our table, we are using the string website because it's only limited for websites in the beginning, and later it can easily be groups, for example. Is that clear? About
So I have a question. So you have, if I understand correctly, you introduced this sales channel interface in this run, right?
Yes.
And so which service is it used in?
It is currently only meant to be used in the stock management, like if you
Belinda, I can help. So,
oh, you don't see my screen, right?
so actually, we inject the entities of the sales channel into the stock. So we have the stock and we have extension and attribute in the stock entity, and there is a possibility to add assigned sales channel into some particular stock.
Can you show me the stock? So do you have, how does the client code look?
So do you see my browser now with the Magento backend?
No, I only see PHP Storm.
Ah, okay. How can I switch this?
So I don't, maybe you have code example how it looks. I understand that in web API it will probably.
Yeah, basically we are doing plugins here. So if you have the save method from stock, we are having an around save plugin that is getting the stock itself and putting our extension attributes, which are the type and decode on it. So it's kind of part of the stock itself.
Okay, so you decided to implement so sales channels as a separate pluggable module, right? So
Yes.
sales channel can be removed. Okay, sales module, inventory sales module can be removed, and there will be no such thing as sales channel on stock, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
And how will Magento behave in that case? I'm sorry, I'm asking all these questions. I didn't participate in previous demos, and I'm behind on reviewing the designs a bit, but I think it might be useful, not for me only.
So I don't really get the question. You think about the case where you had sales channels and later removed them, the module, or?
Yeah, so if I remove the sales channel module or inventory sales API module, how will Magento behave without sales channels? So I create multiple multiple stocks, right? And I don't assign sales channels to them. What does it mean functionally?
So one stock can have several sales channels, and it doesn't have to have any. So it's not an error case anyway.
Okay, then I guess I'm wondering. So if I assign a sales channel, okay, I've assigned a sales channel to stock. So what does it mean? What happens?
So in this case, so if you assign the sales channel to some particular stock, we create a linkage, and that linkage is represented as an attribute added to the stock entity. And that behavior brought by the inventory sales module.
Mm-hmm. I understand. So you have this link, and how is this link used?
Yeah. So actually, we have a bunch of as Belinda already mentioned, we have an idea that any sales channel, and there could be different sales channel and the Magento side. So out of the box, we will go with the website sales channel. So any sales channel should be assigned to some particular stock. That's actually the business rule, and we supposed to validate. So, for example, when the website, newly created website is created, we implicitly assign it to the default stock. So any website would be assigned to some web channel, some sales channel. But we can, along with that, we can create a sales channel and not assign it to to any of the sales channel we have. So,
okay, to clarify, is functionality of sales channels used anyhow today in current implementation, or is it planned to use?
no. We already assigning the default website, like any website which we create, we assign it to the default sales channel, and actually that's assignment made with this linkage.
So at least a website is also
create a sales channel. So my understanding is that in current sprint, or in the last sprint or last week, you added the ability to create sales channels, right?
Yes, and assign it, and along with that, we had another story where we assign newly created website to the default sales channel. Also, we had another story where we check that when we remove, so drop some particular sales channel, we can't allow to do it. While this, when we trying to remove some particular stock, we are making a validation and we don't allow to remove the stock while it is assigned to some of the sales channel we have. So the merchant should unassign the stock from all of the sales channel and just after that to remove it.
Yeah, I understand that functionality. Yeah, so data integrity makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But so I created a stock, right?
Yep.
And I assigned it to some sales channel.
Yes.
And that sales channel.
Yes.
Yeah.
For example.
Okay, so it's assigned, and what does it mean? So how is it used in Magento? So when I come to this website, I will automatically get stock only on catalog only from this channel or from the stock link to this.
So actually, when you make this assignment, that provide you an opportunity when you come to the website that will give you a stock, because actually, like any sales channel has a one-to-one relationship with the stock. So actually, we also, along with that, we have a resolver interface which provide you an opportunity to resolve current stock which is supposed to be your stock you should work with based on the type and the ID of the sales channel.
Okay, understood. So so stock resolver, it accepts string type and code, right? Okay.
Yeah. So actually, for example, for the website, that would be type website and the code the website code or website ID. So probably that would be website ID because we already have the legacy code of the catalog inventory which rely on the website ID. So we will.
So this was the main question. I try to get answer to. So okay, so you resolve when you come to website, the current stock for this website is resolved by the channel that it is linked. By default, this channel is website. I remember we reviewed this design. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
but where is the stock ID resolver used today?
So currently, we like in a current code base. We just started to apply the current code, this resolver to the checkout process to resolve the ID of the stock from which we're supposed to make a stock deduction.
Okay, so it's is it in progress now, or is it?
Yeah, it's in progress now.
Okay, and catalog, is it? Does it influence catalog anyhow?
It's gonna be when so it's now in progress, and actually we are just integrating this resolver to the catalog inventory and the catalog.
Okay, understood. Thank you. That was my question. And sorry, it took a lot of time, but it's
no, it was really makes sense that your question.
Okay, so I guess I'm done with my stuff.
So, all right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Belinda. And next part is presented by me. It's about refactoring we made for the export part. So we already show the export completely in one of our last demos, I think in the last one. And in the last few, or in our last week, we did a lot of refactoring there. So we look into code now, and the refactoring was in first place in order to be to provide better extension points for developers. So our export functionality is currently made up from the EAV export behavior. So the legacy export always needs some kind of attribute collection. So this is why we simulate here attribute collection for our export. So in order to provide a configuration grid. And so one of our SPIs here, as an extension point for developers, is that this part can be extended for a plugin, for example. So you can add additional lines or additional attributes which would be configurable in the grid for the export. The next part is also provided by the validators or filters we have. So each attribute can be also a filter for the export. So here we provide also an extensible part via DI. So you can add additional validators which are based on the database type of the attribute. And all in one, result of our refactoring was that we also match or pass the static matrix or static tests so that we don't have the dependency higher than 13. So I think that's so far from the refactoring part. Maybe Igor want to say something more, but
yeah, I can add several words just to make clear for maybe Anton. So Vadim during the last 2 or 3 sprints implemented the stock import export functionality, and taking into account that our stock import export is actually import export functionality is pretty legacy, and actually it has a coupling on a EEV. So we had to make some fake EEV collection because we have, especially for the export functionality, because for the export functionality we are building a grid based on the EEV attributes. So we actually fake that functionality and making all the necessary refactoring and using the only API we could use in that particular situation. In our case, it was inheritance API. So we provided the source import, source item in import export functionality. And now Vadim described what actually part of refactoring he had to make to achieve the goal. But for example, even the default export functionality needed more than 13 dependencies external. So that was a pretty challenges to make a refactoring to make our static test to be passed without suppressing warning with the amount of external dependencies.
Okay, so the sources model export sources is a source. What does it export? Does it export sources or source items?
Source items. Vadim, if it's possible, maybe you would show the how it works. So it would be.
No need. I can imagine how export works. So or maybe anyone else wants to do, then that okay. But I have so what confuses me a bit. It's called sources. Does it export source information and source item information, or only source item?
Source
It
item.
export all source informations per item. So we have source ID and SKU for each row.
Okay, so just consider it's not important. It's not very important thing. In that case, I would rename this to source items. But you understand the domain of this better, because in my understanding, the export source items, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's continue.
All right. So the next part is also presented by me. I just want to show or have a short look into the first integration into catalog inventory. So we just start working on them. For that, I have to switch my branch. Yeah. All right. So also for this, I want to show you the current behavior in the backend. So we just add the first, the write behavior for the default stock. So if I add a new product, the decision was that I can use still the old quantity field for the default stock assignment. So currently it will be used in parallel. So for example, I will add a product ABC. This information will be also, so the stock status and the quantity will be automatically added to or assigned as a new to our default stock here. So that was the first integration here. So we capture this data and also persist it in the new MSI data model. As you can see here, the same we have if we update this information, for example, out of stock. So as you can see, it was updated here. Currently, we don't have the final decision from the UI part. So the idea was to disable this field here and also remove the delete icon, so that default source assignment is in every product after persisting it, and the only place where we edit this information is the old fields we have. Therefore we need the final decision from Mark. Maybe he can provide us this information after he see our recorded meeting. So we implement this stuff in the same way we saw it previously for the sales channels or for the import-export part. So we have our own module called inventory catalog, which is the linking part or a module which have dependency to the old catalog inventory and the new inventory module. Any questions?
So we now have catalog inventory and inventory catalog modules.
Yeah, correct.
So we need a plan.
Yeah, actually we have a plan. So actually we are going that during our work the inventory catalog will get more and more logic, and actually that logic is supposed to couple the inventory functionality in the catalog. And actually like catalog inventory module, so the old legacy module, supposed to be dismantled along the way, and after the milestone 2 or milestone 3, probably it should be totally eliminated from the system.
When does milestone 3?
So currently we are targeting milestone 1 as a minimal viable product of MSI, supposed to be released in a 2.3, and and probably, and actually like the dismantling of the inventory of the catalog inventory will bring the backward incompatible changes, so we can't release earlier than in 2.4, for example.
Okay, let's move it offline.
Yeah,
So the functionality that you showed looks cool. Let's think on naming modules and how we on the plan on moving the behavior. One quick question related to modularity. It's not but not related to what you just showed. But so you introduced the module inventory catalog, and there is some product type specific inventory management, right? Have you encountered a product type specific inventory management so far? And do you plan to do it, to put that behavior to product type specific inventory module?
Yeah, exactly. We have actually 3 dedicated story for configurable grouped and bundled products, and we're supposed to put them to the dedicated modules.
Cool. Okay, thank you.
So there is also, for example, an observer which we override from the original inventory implementation in order to be compatible with catalog inventory. So it's just an additional module which can be removed some days later. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So actually, our basic strategy to make 2.3 Magento release with MSI on board as less backward incompatible as possible. So we're trying to be backward compatible. And actually at the time of catalog inventory dismantle, it would be backward incompatible release, but it would be like milestone 2 or milestone 3.
So, all right. If we don't have any questions more, I think we are ready so far. So thank you everybody for joining this meeting, and see you next week.
Thank you for the great demonstration, Vadim. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Bye.